WISHUPON. On an otherwise ordinary day, Johanna Shannon, Elisabeth Röhm, goes to throw out something wrapped in a sheet. Her daughter Claire, Regan Revord, goes to ride her bike with her dog Max. Johanna goes into the house looking spaced. When Claire comes home, she goes into the attic to find Johanna hanging herself. Teenage Claire, now played by Joey King, wakes up from this nightmare. She gets ready to go to school. Claire rides her bike to school and sees her uncle August, Victor Sutton, whom her father won't let her speak to for some reason. Claire is distracted and nearly gets struck by popular girl Darcy Chapman, Josephine Langford. Claire just scrapes her knee and rips her legging. When Claire gets to school, she sees her father Jonathan, Ryan Phillippe, dumpster diving with his friend Carl, Kevin Hanchard. Embarrassed, she goes to tell him to go away. Claire then joins her friends June Acosta, Shannon Purser, and Meredith McNeil, Sydney Park, while we see that Claire has a crush on popular guy Paul Middlebrook, Mitchell Slaggert. Darcy also takes an opportunity to be a bitch and hit Claire with her drink. Back home, Claire returns to see her dad has found a large music box. Claire takes it inside and reads that the box will grant 7 wishes. She scoffs it off. The next day, Claire is at school with June and Meredith when they are giggling as Darcy and her clique walk by. Darcy questions Claire as to why she's laughing, and Claire says that she called Darcy ultimate smegma, which is some kind of genital secretion in both males and females. Darcy smacks Claire, who smacks her back. Claire then gets knocked over, and she retaliates by tackling Darcy to the ground and engaging in a girl fight. When Claire goes home, she takes the music box and makes what she thinks is a hypothetical wish for Darcy to go rot. The following morning, after an apparently crazy party in her home, Darcy wakes up to find part of her hands, feet, and face looking grotesquely rotted. The news spreads around the school that Darcy got necrotizing fasciitis from a spa, and that means Claire's wish has come true. However, the next morning, Claire goes to look for Max and finds his dead body under the deck in the house. She and Jonathan bury their dog. After spending a good part of her day pining for Paul, Claire decides to make her second wish be that Paul would fall madly in love with her. When she goes to school again, Paul approaches her and shows clear interest, even in front of his girlfriend Lola Sanchez, Daniela Barbosa. In Uncle August's home, the old man is preparing to take a bath. He fills his tub with water and steps in, only to clumsily slip and hit his head on the side of the tub. He regains consciousness, only to bang his head on the nozzle and die. Upon learning of August's death, Claire wonders to her father if August left his inheritance to anyone. Jonathan doubts he or Claire would have been mentioned. Considering that they aren't very financially stable at the moment, Claire goes to her room and tells the music box her third wish, which is that August had left her everything. Claire wakes up the next day to Jonathan telling her that August apparently left Claire his entire inheritance. Soon, the two move into a mansion and start driving flashy cars. Jonathan gives Claire his credit card so that she can treat June and Meredith to a shopping spree. Paul officially breaks up with Lola and immediately proceeds to ask Claire out. She takes some time to think about it. The Shannon's former neighbor Mrs. DeLuca, Sherilyn Fenn, is in her home cooking dinner. She drops something down the garbage disposal and sticks her hand in there while precariously leaning close to the switch. Meanwhile, her pots on the stove appear to be burning. Mrs. DeLuca pulls her hand out and turns off the stove. She then moves back toward the sink. Her ponytail goes down the disposal and she accidentally turns it on, causing the disposal to yank her hair and break her neck. Claire is still annoyed that her dad goes dumpster diving for knick-knacks. She uses her fourth wish for Jonathan to be less embarrassing. Jonathan then becomes a smooth saxophone player that even Claire's friends find hot. Claire asks her friend Ryan Wee, Kai Hong Lee, for help in figuring out the phrase on the music box, as well as its history. They visit his cousin Gina, Alice Lee, in her loft. They find that the box has been passed down for decades, but they cannot translate the phrase. Gina sends the phrase to someone for an answer. That night, Gina is alone in her loft when she receives an email with the translation. She says it's messed up, and it starts to freak her out. She tries to call Ryan outside, but he doesn't answer the phone. The door behind her slams and causes her to drop her phone. She goes back inside as the power is out. In the darkness, she trips and falls face first onto the horn of a bull statue. At school, Claire is now Paul's girlfriend, but all of his friends don't care to hang out with her since Paul dumped Lola for her. Claire then wishes that she would become the most popular girl in school. She then gets invited to a party with Paul, where they have a good time and go to his car to hook up, only for Claire to realize Paul is talking to other girls behind her back, as well as spying on her and taking pictures. She leaves Paul. Ryan finds Gina's phone on the ground and runs up to her loft to find her dead. He finds Claire at school and tells her that he learned the phrase on the box translates to when the music ends, the blood price is paid. He tells Claire that Gina is dead. Ryan also tells Claire that he's learned more about the box's history. Those who have used it all ended up dead. He refers to a man, Jerry O'Connell, who used the box's wishes to make his life better, only for his wife and children to perish. He burned his house down with himself and the box inside, but the box survived. Claire and Ryan do what they can to destroy the box themselves, but nothing works. Claire goes to Mrs. DeLuca's home and enters to a horrible smell. She then finds Mrs. DeLuca's body still lingering by the sink. Claire tells June and Meredith about the box and how she's been making wishes. Meredith chides her for not using wishes on good things instead of using them on herself. June encourages Claire to get rid of the box. Claire goes to do so, but then decides to keep the box just in case. While Claire is sleeping at night, she finds Paul has broken into her room. He asks her if it's over between them. Claire makes it obvious that it is, and he slits his wrist. He is later taken to the hospital. The girls hang out at a hotel. Claire gets a phone call from Jonathan saying he's going to a gig, and he soon gets a flat tire. The scene jumps between Jonathan changing his tire and Meredith going off by herself to play a phone app. Claire admits to June that she didn't get rid of the box. Meredith then sets foot in an elevator to rejoin her friends. Jonathan is nearly struck by two drag racers. He goes under the car to grab a missing piece, with the car jack nearly loosening itself. Finally, he knocks the spare tire loose, which gets hit by an oncoming car and nearly tears Jonathan's head off. The elevator that Meredith is on then malfunctions before dropping completely and crashing to the bottom, killing Meredith. June blames Claire for this. Claire struggles with the result of her wishes and the thought of undoing them. Eventually, the wishes are undone when Claire and Jonathan have their money taken because Uncle August never paid his taxes. They move back into their old home. Darcy returns to school with her skin healing, and she's still a bitch to Claire. Claire finds out that June took the box from her room to try and get rid of it, but Claire takes it back. Utterly frustrated and losing her mind, Claire tries to resist making another wish, but she makes her sixth wish be that her mother never committed suicide. Seconds later, she hears Johanna's voice. Claire embraces her mother for the first time in years. It also turns out that in this new timeline, Claire has younger twin sisters. The happiness is short-lived. Claire sees Jonathan outside under a tree as Carl is trying to chop off a branch with a chainsaw. Claire runs outside to warn her dad, only for Carl's ladder to wobble, causing him to accidentally swing the chainsaw down and decapitate Jonathan. Claire runs up to the attic, and among her mom's paintings, she finds one of the same box, leading her to realize her mom once had the same box, and it was responsible for her suicide. Claire screams at the box that she wants to use her last wish to go back to the day that her dad found the box. Claire wakes up on that fateful day. Max is on her bed. She calls Meredith to hear her voice, though she's annoyed that Claire woke her up. Claire asks Jonathan if she can join him and Carl as they go looking for things. Claire finds the box in a bin and wraps it in a sheet, taking it with her. Before going to school, she tells her dad she loves him. Claire finds Ryan and gives him the box, saying how she knows Gina and that she can figure out what the box says and that they should get rid of it. She also makes dinner plans with Ryan and kisses him in front of June and Meredith. Claire walks off happily. Then Darcy accidentally hits her with her car, sending Claire's body flying several feet and crashing onto a windshield. All the students look on in horror